Welcome everyone to Embracing the ADA 30th, the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act in the workplace, revealing Michigan's best kept secrets. And this is brought to you by the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, Employment and Training. My name is Angela Blanchard. I am with Michigan Rehab Services Business Network Division, and I'll be hosting our event today. And this presentation is a partnership between the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, BSBP, and Michigan Rehabilitation Services, MRS. And both BSBP and MRS embrace Title I of the ADA and work tirelessly to ensure fair access and a level playing field within the workplace. Now, the ADA was enacted in 1990 and then amended again in 2008. The ADA is divided into 5 titles. Employment, which is Title I, will be the main focus of our presentation today. Title II is Public Services. Title III, Public Accommodations. Title IV is Telecommunications. And Title V is a catch-all, miscellaneous. Today we're going to focus again on Title I, Employment for Individuals with Disabilities. So before we begin, a little housekeeping. During the presentation, please put questions and comments in the chat box. We will have chat moderators on hand to answer your questions. And we highly encourage everyone to utilize the chat feature during the presentation to ask questions that can be addressed by our team behind the scenes. If time does not allow to answer all questions and comments, follow-up will be provided after the presentation. Resources and contact information will be sent to all registered attendees following the presentation. Kicking things off, we'll hear from Stephanie Beckhorn, Director of Employment and Training, Bill Robinson, Director of Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, and Tina Fullerton, Director of Michigan Rehabilitation Services.
Good morning. What a great occasion to be part of, celebrating the 30th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and particularly for shining a light on all the work the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity does that is connected directly to the ADA. I'm Stephanie Beckhorn, Director of LEO's Office of Employment and Training. We are a relatively new team comprised of the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, Michigan Rehabilitation Services, and Workforce Development. As a team, we work together to promote a flexible, innovative, and effective workforce system by developing customized workforce solutions for businesses and individuals, including those with disabilities. The information you'll hear today from the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons and Michigan Rehabilitation Services will call attention to the exceptional services both of these agencies provide throughout the state as they work to help individuals overcome barriers with both gaining and retaining employment and obtaining skills and resources to live independently. I hope today's event is engaging and informative, and I hope you'll consider joining us every Thursday for the rest of the month as we call attention to other areas of LEO, including workforce development, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, Michigan Occupational Safety and Health, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, unemployment insurance, and labor. Thank you for participating, and please enjoy the rest of the presentation. And now I'd like to introduce Bill Robinson, Director of the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons.
Well, hello, I'm Bill Robinson with the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons in the Division of Employment and Training for Labor and Economic Opportunity. The American with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990, so we're celebrating 30 years of that this year, and we have the pleasure of celebrating it during October, which is also Disability Awareness Month for employers. And so I want to just touch on a few things about ADA and how it's impacted my life and the importance for employers. So ADA requires an employer to provide reasonable accommodations to qualified individuals with disabilities. And in general, an accommodation is just any change in the work environment that just allows an individual with disability to perform the essential duties of their job. So I'll go back to 2001 and just relate a story about ADA and the failure of a business to recognize how to accommodate an employee and how it impacted that business. And that story is about myself. In 2001, I was Chief Financial Officer for a publicly traded company's division, and I was working in that position for quite a bit of time, and I'd saved the company millions and millions of dollars over that period of employment. And yet, when we thought about ADA back in those days, we were thinking about physical barriers. And there's so much more to ADA. ADA is more than just physical barriers. But in those days, my employer really didn't think about accommodations. I didn't know anything about vocational rehabilitation and the role of vocational rehabilitation in helping business to accommodate employees. So what happened in my case is I had a terrible, tragic hunting accident where my partner shot me accidentally, and I lost my vision. I almost lost my life. And in the meantime, I was at home. I was collecting some private disability insurance, but my heart was really wanting to go back to work because I'd worked all my life. I loved what I did. I was excited about going to work every day, and I had a really great team. And the employer themselves did not know how to accommodate me. So after about 3.5 months, I got a call, and the HR director came out, and they triggered a severance for me and bid me farewell. Well, if you think about it, in today's terms, if you have a key employee, how important is it to retain that employee? It's pretty important, especially nowadays with the talent shortage that we're experiencing. And if my employer could have been more disability friendly, if they could have reached out and known about vocational rehabilitation and said, hey, we have an employee that lost their sight, and we're wondering, can that employee still do this work? And my work, by the way, was very visual. I was a chief financial officer, so I was into the numbers, I was into spreadsheets, I was looking at contracts, you name it, I was doing it with my eyes. But you know what? With assistive technology, which would be accommodation, I could have continued in that work. Now, I was fortunate in that several years after that, I regained some vision in my right eye, and I was able to learn more and more about assistive technology and how to magnify things. But that's just an example, and one example of why it's important as a business to not only become workplace friendly, but disability friendly as well. Because talent is important. It's important to attract talent. It's important to be competitive in your hiring capabilities. And I like to say to businesses, if you prepare now for hiring people with disabilities, even if you haven't hired a person yet, even if you just want to learn more about it, it's a good step to become competitive in hiring practices and also in retention practices, because you'll never know when you have a key employee with key knowledge that saves you lots of money, that's done a lot of good work pulling your team together, that experiences a disability event, and then you're unable to keep them or retain them because you don't know. So I'd like to encourage you as employers to reach out both to Michigan Rehabilitation Services and the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, because we have on our staff some really qualified, some really in-depth consultative advice regarding both accommodations and designing your workplace or doing site analysis for individuals with disabilities and how they can perform their essential job duties. It's really an exciting work that we do. It's really exciting to see people that want to work, to have that experience, to have that opportunity, to have that ability to advance in employment, but they can't do that if there are those physical barriers. And we now talk about electronic barriers, sensory barriers. So there's a lot of different barriers than when we first thought about ADA just being about curb cuts or elevators or ramps or width of aisles for wheelchairs. Now there's all kinds of incredible technology, whether it's technology to help somebody lift something, or if it's technology to help them see something or hear something that maybe they need some assistance with. And I would just encourage employers and businesses to go out there. If they have any questions, contact MRS or BSBP and really ask questions. And don't be afraid if they're tough questions. We'll figure it out with you. We have a lot of experience, a lot of qualification, and we've got a lot of successful placements of individuals that are truly talented with businesses doing incredible work. So again, I thank you for this opportunity to speak about the American Disabilities Act, to celebrate the 30 years of the Act and really understand that this civil rights legislation has progressed every year and continues to grow and continues to be embraced by businesses, and therefore it's opening up opportunities. So I would leave you with this, to open those doors up, open up those opportunities, and not limit yourself in terms of talent, but to cast a wide net for the entire talent pool that's out there. With that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Tina Fullerton, who's the Director of Michigan Rehabilitation Services, the other agency in Michigan working with people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill, and good morning, everyone. Bill did a great job of discussing the Americans with Disability Act legislation. He also talked a bit about vocational rehabilitation. So I'll be taking just a few minutes today to talk more about VR. So let's start with a little history. This year, 2020, marks 100 years since the establishment of America's Vocational Rehabilitation Program, or as we call it, VR. It was created by Congress in 1920 to assist individuals with physical disabilities. Actually, it was the first federally funded program to assist people who had not acquired their disability as a result of serving in the military. So on June 2nd, 1920, President Woodrow Wilson signed into law the Smith-Fess Act of 1920. It was also known as the Industrial Rehabilitation Act and referred to as the National Civilian Vocational Rehabilitation Act. So quite a mouthful. Today, we just call it vocational rehabilitation. Also today, vocational rehabilitation serves people with a wide range of disabilities. So visible or not, we serve everyone with a disability. The passage of Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or as we call it, WIOA, that legislation was passed in 2014 and brought about major changes in VR. One of those being the focus on business as a dual customer. VR has learned during the past 100 years that our business partner is critical to success. Expanding and building opportunities for businesses to know and understand the work of VR creates opportunities for them to acquire talent that had previously been overlooked and underutilized. So business as a dual customer is a win-win proposition. Number one, businesses have direct access to a pool of qualified applicants, along with the technical support services provided by the public VR system. Also, MRS and BSBP customers have access to local, state, and national employment opportunities and career development resources. And last but not least, MRS and BSBP have a national system for sharing employment resources, best practices, and business connections with our customers. So what's next? What does the future look like? During the past 100 years, VR has evolved and changed. However, one area where VR has never changed is in the belief in the ability of individuals with disabilities to be meaningfully and competitively employed in demand-driven careers while establishing independence and inclusion within their communities. As we look to 2021 and beyond, we must rededicate our efforts to focus on the next 100 years. VR must continue to evolve to meet the ever-changing needs of society and individuals with disabilities. With that, I'll leave you with a quote from Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who made significant contributions to disability rights and inclusion. Real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. Thank you.
Thank you for that powerful message. And now we'll turn things over to our presenters, Jenny Pyatt, Division Director for the Business Network Division of Michigan Rehabilitation Services, who will give an overview of vocational rehab. Lisa Kieshel, Division Director of Field Services for the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, who will tell us more about the services offered by BSBP. And Sigrid Adams, Division Director of Staff Development and Policy for Michigan Rehabilitation Services, with more information on MRS.
Thanks, Angie. Good morning. It is a pleasure to be with you all today. I'm Jenny Pyatt, the Michigan Rehabilitation Services Business Network Division Director. Thank you again to our executive department leadership and our respective bureau directors, Bill and Tina, for our welcoming remarks this morning. Many of you may be asking yourself, what exactly is vocational rehabilitation, or VR? Our respective agencies, Bureau of Services for Blind Persons and Michigan Rehabilitation Services, are federally mandated programs intended to serve individuals with disabilities, students and youth with disabilities, and businesses in the community. Specifically, vocational rehabilitation assists with career counseling, training, and preparing individuals for successful careers in the job market. We also assist individuals obtain employment as well as provide technical assistance to help an individual who may have acquired an injury or an illness to retain their employment. Here are a few additional facts about state vocational rehabilitation. We are proudly celebrating our 100th anniversary this year thanks to the federal legislative support through the years, starting with our World War I veterans in 1920. Regardless of your residence and location, there is a state vocational rehabilitation agency available to you, whether you're in Copper Harbor Country, the Thumb, Northern and West Side Michigan, or Detroit area. There is a Michigan Rehabilitation Services and Bureau of Services for Blind Person office there to serve you. Even if you're not from Michigan or maybe be moving out of state, we can assist you with finding the VR agency based on your residence. In fact, there are over 25,000 state vocational rehabilitation counselors across the country, including U.S. territories waiting to serve you. State vocational rehabilitation serves an average of 1 million individuals with disabilities a year. Again, Michigan has 2 vocational rehabilitation agencies to serve you: Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, BSBP, and Michigan Rehabilitation Services, MRS. My colleagues will be providing you further details about each respective agency shortly. Both BSBP and MRS have the same goal: careers for individuals with disabilities and services to support the business community. In addition to obtaining talent from a potential untapped pool, it is vital to ensure that your current workforce is able to continue performing their jobs productively now more than ever. So let's talk about accommodations. There is a disparity for this population, and here are candidates you may not have considered before. Demand-driven and #1 ask for most business and industry is talent. Did you know that 1 in 4 individuals in the United States have a disability? That's 61 million individuals. And in Michigan, there are over 1.3 million individuals with disabilities. Michigan Rehabilitation Services and Bureau of Services for Blind Persons have served 49,000 individuals with disabilities in our communities and facilitated over 6,400 successful employment outcomes for them. Additionally, both agencies have provided services to over 6,000 businesses across the state, both to help retain employment and obtain employment for those respective industries. When rights are granted equitably to everyone, the whole benefits even in small ways. How has the ADA helped you? Here are some thoughts in terms of accommodations that have come out of the Americans with Disabilities Act that you probably come across every day. Think about those curb cuts when you're pushing a baby stroller or you're moving a cart across the street. How has that benefited you? Those happen because of the ADA. Think about elevators and the braille on the elevators. Again, that was the ADA. Let's talk about technology. How many of you have an Alexa? Or have used automatic doors? Or better yet, have a cell phone and you use the texting capabilities? All of those features are a result of individuals with disabilities with great ideas who needed access to be able to communicate, or to be able to access a building, or to just conduct our lives of everyday life. All of those benefit us. So you may also be asking yourself, what is the connectivity between vocational rehabilitation and the Americans with Disabilities Act? Let's start with Title I of the ADA. Title I prohibits private employers, state and local governments, employment agencies, and labor unions from discriminating against qualified individuals with disabilities in applying for jobs, hiring, firing, and job training. For 100 years, VR has been training individuals with disabilities for careers focusing on their strengths, not on what they can't do. For 100 years, VR has instilled hope and empowered individuals with disabilities to advocate for themselves and laws that make a difference, like the Americans with Disabilities Act. For 100 years, we worked with business to educate them about individuals with disabilities and how they can successfully work and be value added in the workplace. Now more than ever, it's important to dispel the myths and shatter the stereotypes. Creating opportunities and programs, the ADA levels the playing field in the workplace. Businesses who have led the way with disability employment initiatives include businesses such as Meijer, right here in Michigan, Walgreens, CVS, and Amazon. Why VR? Why vocational rehabilitation? We believe in the value and potential of all individuals and that businesses prosper when they afford equal opportunity to the broadest scope of qualified talent and accessibility to the broadest customer base. When people and businesses keep an open mind and are willing to try something new, something different, there truly can be no limit to what we can accomplish together. And that's what we look forward to in the next 100 years of VR, building a community of accessibility and opportunity where people and business can thrive. I've just shared with you what has happened over the past 100 years and a little bit about our staff. You may be asking yourself now, well, how do we make that happen? Well, let's start with how we work directly with you and having a customized approach in terms of services, as well as working with the business community to create those opportunities. We employ both occupational therapists and vision rehabilitation therapists to help look at what would accommodations potentially look like if needed in the workplace, to help dispel some of those fears and make it easy. We also have business relation consultants who work directly with the business community to help understand where their needs are and make that connectivity with our talent pool, that being individuals with disabilities who are working with vocational rehabilitation services. We also have recognized expertise related to the Americans with Disabilities Act, ergonomics, workplace injury prevention, hard of hearing, and assistive technology. Let's talk about some of the other value-added services vocational rehab also has under our umbrella. We have the Michigan Career Technical Institute. MCTI really does embrace working smarter, not harder. We know what you need before you ask. A school that is universally designed to provide wraparound services to ensure your success. In fact, Michigan Career Technical Institute is the second largest comprehensive rehabilitation training center in the United States. It is truly one of our hidden gems. MCTI is one of only 8 state-operated comprehensive rehabilitation training centers in the U.S. So who can be referred? You could be coming from Vocational Rehabilitation, Michigan Rehab Services, Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, or the Veterans Administration. And as you can see, MCTI is about results. During the school year 2018 through 19, there were 362 graduates, 99% classroom retention rate, 87% placement rate. These are wonderful return on investment opportunities awaiting you. So let's talk a little bit more about our hidden gem, Michigan Career Technical Institute. MCTI has 13 vocational training programs you can see. Both of them are high demand and are all pre-apprenticeship approved, meaning industry has all had input and guidance on the training curriculum and the outcomes. After this webinar, you will be provided each agency's website links, which proudly displays our respective missions and visions to serve individuals with disabilities in business. Now more than ever, our ability to connect people with opportunity through guidance and counseling, technical assistance, and partnership enhances economic resiliency, productivity, and growth, particularly during these challenging times. Now I have the pleasure of introducing Lisa Kieshel, Field Services Director of Bureau of Services for Blind Persons. Lisa?
Thanks, Jenny. Really appreciate that introduction and all of the valuable information that you just provided about VR. It tells a story and it's an important one. So, as Jenny mentioned in her presentation, Bureau of Services for Blind Persons and Michigan Rehabilitation Services are the 2 vocational rehabilitation agencies in Michigan. We are honored to be able to work together in partnership and collaboration on many projects, and we look forward to continuing that during the next 100 years of VR. What makes us different and what makes us similar? The Bureau of Services for Blind Persons is the vocational rehabilitation agency that serves individuals who are blind or visually impaired, or in some cases significant vision impairment. If you are an individual or a business that is working with someone who has significant vision loss, we could be a resource for you to assist in ensuring that that individual maintains, retains, and has the opportunity to advance in employment. So just to overview, BSBP has partnerships with local education agencies, colleges and universities, and several community partners throughout the state, local and national businesses and Michigan Works agencies to get participants where they need to be. So the next slide talks about who do we serve. And who we serve are individuals, as mentioned, who are significantly visually impaired and blind, who meet the definition of legal blindness, which is an acuity or how well you see distance-wise at a rate of 20/200 in the better eye with correction, and a visual field restriction of 20 degrees or less, and that's that vision that you see off to the side called your peripheral vision. You can also be a person who has some limited vision that is declining and has a visual acuity of 20/100 or a visual field of 40 degrees or less. So what are the programs that we have within BSBP? Well, first of all, the Vocational Rehabilitation Program, which is synonymous with the program that Jenny talked about regarding vocational rehabilitation and the employment of individuals with disabilities, specifically who are blind. That is absolutely 90% of the work that we do within this Bureau is assisting individuals who want to work, who need to work, and be included in their communities and being able to do that. We also had a myriad of other programs that are valuable and important to the lives of individuals with disabilities, specifically blindness and low vision. The Youth Low Vision program, which has been with us since the 1980s, is a program designed to assist young people, ages babies, through age 14 in receiving what we call wearable devices. So that means glasses or contact lenses that allow them the opportunity to be able to utilize their existing vision while they participate in their educational programs and where there may not be other resources in which to provide those services. The business services, obviously, is a part of the Vocational Rehabilitation Services where we reach out to our partners in business, because what we know is that without business and without those partnerships, the opportunity to assist individuals in becoming employed is not possible. So we value those business relationships very much, and we provide subject matter expertise within our Bureau to be able to assist business in serving our consumers to the best of their ability and ours. The Independent Living Program. Blindness agencies are very unique in that we know that individuals that have vision loss experience a great deal of challenge with integrating in their community and being part of their work life as well as their social life, and the independent living skills are critical to that. So we provide services to people of all ages that need those skills while interested in becoming employed. We also have what is called the Independent Living Older Blind Program, which is for individuals 55 and older who have suffered vision loss and would like to continue living independently in their homes with the least amount of restriction. And we have vision rehabilitation therapists that serve them in their homes and in their comfortable community settings in order to be able to learn those skills of independence so that their lives are not interrupted as a result of vision loss. Transition services. We serve individuals starting at age 14. And those are kids that are in school and needing of the services that we provide to assist them in planning for their post-secondary journeys. These individuals are appropriate for our services because they meet the definition of legal blindness or vision impairment, as well as needing the services that we provide to help them to plan for their future. Our training center is in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and celebrated 50 years in 2019, where they were able to provide significant independent living skills training and work readiness training for students who need those services in order, again, to integrate into their community. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a later slide. We also have the Business Enterprise Program, which is a result of the Randolph-Shepard Act of 1936, where individuals who are interested in running snack bars, vending routes, and cafeterias are able to do so in state and federal buildings with the assistance of BSBP in cooperation with those state and federal programs. The Braille and Talking Book Library is a free service to any patron who is not able to access printed materials. This program is a great program and encompasses thousands of people per year. Also, that will be illustrated on a slide to follow. But it's a great program. It's free of charge, and it's an amazing way to connect individuals in our communities who are not able to access printed materials. So as I mentioned, the Braille and Talking Book Library, this slide will share with you some of the services that are provided, which are Braille and Talking Book materials that are both audible, so they would be an audio book that is mailed directly to a patron. It could be a new download, so that would be like a Kindle book or an Audible book. It would replicate that type of a service, but it's free of charge, which is not true with Audible or Kindle books. The Braille and Talking Book Library serves over 10,000 active accounts throughout the state. So that's individuals who are receiving those services. And it's also important to mention that patrons of the Braille and Talking Book Library do not need to be recipients of Bureau of Services for Blind Persons or MRS, Michigan Rehabilitation Services programs. This is a program that BSBP manages. However, it is open to any individual who is not able to access printed materials for any reason, whether there may be a vision loss, a learning challenge, etc. The Bureau of Services for Blind Persons Training Center serves more than 250 people a year in the many programs that the Training Center offers to individuals who are blind and visually impaired in Michigan. As I mentioned earlier, it's been with the state for over 50 years and has been a constant companion to the services of our field service deliverers. Without this opportunity to provide training to those individuals that receive it, there would be less opportunity for re-engagement in work and community. The BSBP TC, as we call it fondly, is a year-round residential facility located in Kalamazoo, as I mentioned. And at this point, we are offering a myriad, a full array of virtual programs where individuals can actually engage via Teams or another platform to participate in training, even though we're not able to do in-person training right now due to the effect of the pandemic. We are continuing to serve individuals as creatively as possible. As I mentioned, the services that we provide are all dedicated to re-engagement and continued engagement with work and community. Assistive technology and computer training is also very important because what we know is that access to information for persons with disabilities and blindness and other sensory impairments is very critical to being able to be included. And therefore, we have to work very hard to make sure that folks have the skills and abilities that they need in order to do that, which means accessing screen reading programs, virtual platforms, as we mentioned, and also this tandems with the work that we do with business in terms of helping our business partners to understand the opportunity that persons who are blind have in the workforce with these types of accommodations. I do want to mention that the Training Center is available for tours, and we welcome that. So please call 1-800-292-4200 to schedule a tour. But I do caution that right now, as a result of the pandemic, we are not able to provide that in-person service. However, in the future, we look forward to that. Serving our partners in business. I think that Jenny and I have, continued that conversation throughout our presentations. And I want to really reiterate the importance of the work that we do with business as a partner. I think during the 100 years that we're celebrating of VR, what we know is that continuing to build and honor those relationships is critical. And BSBP values that equally as our other partners do. And we know that providing the opportunity for BSBP to be able to provide worksite evaluations and opportunities for education and training regarding disability and blindness and those ergonomic and universal design solutions and the continuous support of those business relationships is going to empower all of us to work together better. I always like to mention that there's, the big R, which is relationship. And I think that the continuous work that we do with business really speaks to that. And it's important beyond, this slide or anything that we've said. And I think those relationships speak when we are able to have those successful outcomes. Job seekers or existing employees. If you find that, if anyone on this webinar finds themselves knowing someone or being someone that has a vision loss while working or looking for employment, we want you to know that we are a resource for you. And it is important that you don't leave your job or decide that you can't work because you're experiencing vision loss. When vision loss becomes a significant barrier to your ability to complete your job tasks, we want to be that resource for you. There are a lot of opportunities for accommodation that are not expensive, that are not complicated, and that are available to everyone. And some examples of that might be a large monitor or something of that nature that you can use in the workplace that is not an expensive accommodation and truly that everyone can benefit. And what we find are a lot of the accommodations that we have available to educate you about or provide are really things that many people can benefit from. Larger fonts, large print on files, and then of course there are specialized accommodations such as Braille or those screen reading programs that we talked about before. What kinds of jobs do people, everybody asks that, what kinds of jobs can BSBP or Bureau of Services for Blind Persons customers obtain? And truthfully, jobs that anyone can obtain other than maybe short of being an airline pilot or something of that nature or driving a forklift, most people can do. You know, healthcare industry, we have worked with individuals who become CNAs and phlebotomists and pharmacy techs. And that's where I also want to loop that back around to Jenny's comments regarding Michigan Career and Technical Institute, because we did work with Michigan Career and Technical Institute to help educate one of our consumers, actually several of them, to become pharmacy techs. There's one that I'm personally aware of. So I think that's important to mention that, again, that collaborative relationship. Education. We've assisted individuals in becoming classroom teachers and professors, teacher consultants for the visually impaired, and several other paraprofessionals, etc. We've assisted many people in getting their law degrees and become legal aid assistants and legal secretaries. Human services. We've worked with several individuals who have chosen a career path of becoming counselors and social workers and psychologists. And customer service representatives from call centers, associates to the debt collection programs that are available, retail, store clerks, cashiers, stockroom attendants, accountants, or controllers as they might be called. And of course the manufacturing industry, because Michigan, as you know, is a big manufacturing state, and there are lots of opportunities for that. But I think what the message that we'd like to send you today is that there are no limitations other than those that most people impose upon themselves because maybe they're not aware or they're unsure and uncomfortable. What does business say about BSBP? I think, you can see from the slide there are several different comments here, and certainly more that we could have filled up several slides with. But I mean, to make the point, I think what we hear most often is that I just didn't know that this was out here. I didn't know these services were available. I didn't know you could help me with my business needs. I didn't know that, blind people could do these things. And so I think, it's really important that, again, we always continue the conversation and continue the education because it never stops, and the need for it is not gone. And I think, as we kind of connect the dots with the ADA, I think it's important to say that helping our consumers that we serve or our customers that we serve, as well as our business customer, to understand how ADA can assist us and them in making these accommodations and making those connections is critical, again, to the success of ultimately ensuring that individuals with disabilities become employed. We have 7 offices around the state, and you'll note that they're listed here. And so we have offices in Flint, Gaylord, Escanaba, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Lansing, and Kalamazoo. So as Jenny said earlier, there is an office in every part of the state. And if you or someone you know needs services, or you have questions about our services and would like to learn more or work more with us, we would love to hear from you. BSBP would like to share a little bit more about us via a video collage that we have put together that outlines a little bit more about our business enterprise program, our pre-employment transition services, and our training center.
The screen fills with the words Bureau of Services for Blind Persons, Business Enterprise Program. James Hull, Assistant Business Enterprise Program Manager.
The Business Enterprise Program is a program that licenses blind individuals to own and operate their own businesses. The Bureau of Services for Blind Persons is the state agency that is responsible for administering the Business Enterprise Program in the state of Michigan. This program affords blind individuals the opportunity to provide food services on state and federal properties, to own their own business, and to earn a livelihood and income for themselves and their families.
Pictures of the Bureau office building and office space. Image shows on the screen of a blind licensee finishing a transaction.
We provide more than 60 opportunities stretching from Marquette in the Upper Peninsula to Monroe and New Buffalo on the southern border of the state for blind individuals to run these businesses.
We're trying to make the transition process for our students flow a lot smoother.
Shots of students listening to a device on a horse farm, participating in an activity at Camp Transition Zone.
So that once they leave school and they come to agencies like the Services for the Blind, they have some good ideas of what they're good at, what their interests are, and what types of things they might like to be doing after they leave school.
Taylor, a student.
BSBP will provide you the opportunities that no other agency will, as meaning employment, job searching, training, seminars, conferences, you name it, they have it.
Rachel, a student.
There's just a lot of good programs, and also if you're in high school and you're going to college, they help pay for your schooling, and if you need technology and things like that, they can also help you with that too, so you can get everything you need to be successful.
Monet, a student.
Don't brush off or think, oh, it's too much work, because it's not, and it's better to have someone helping you than to go at it alone eventually and realize that you passed up an opportunity that you should have taken.
Shots of camp activity, students in horse barn.
The pre-employment transition services were introduced by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and what the legislation did was provide the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons opportunities to provide a lot of additional services to our students with disabilities. The pre-employment transition services are job exploration counseling, work-based learning experiences, counseling on post-secondary options, workplace readiness training, and self-advocacy skills.
The training center is a 24/7 operation. It's in a 45,000 square foot building, and we sit on 26 acres inside the city of Kalamazoo.
For individuals that are legally blind, the training center is a valuable entity for consumers that are needing independent living skills or vocational skills that are wanting to go back to work.
It's rewarding to be able to do some of this stuff that I haven't been able to do in the past 2 years since my vision took a turn for the worse. And this is my relaxation time in this class. Even though we're learning something that I've done in the past, or I've worked with steel in the past, this is like walking into old territory, just learning how to do it with no vision and doing it a whole lot different. There's lots of steps so that you walk away with all your fingers at the end of the day.
There is a way to exist and to go about your daily tasks even after vision loss. People leave learning that they are able to do things different. People come in that struggle, and then they leave with not only the knowledge that they've gained, but then they become mentors for other students.
It's a great feeling to be back, as I say, whole again, even though I don't have the vision, but I have a vision in mind what I want to do now, and that's more important than anything. I found out that there's people that's suffering from the same condition that I was suffering from, so it made it a little better for me. So I adapted pretty well with the teachers and their teachings and me learning different skills that helped me better.
And our training center here really tries to help facilitate the whole broad range between the independent living skills and employment.
Penny Jones, participant.
For me to come here and to meet people that I feel like is like me, that's where the positive came in at. This was the turnaround for me.
Marcel Smoghe, participant.
I'm going this afternoon to learn to write a check. I can't stay on the line anymore, and I can't see where to put the date.
Welcome, Adam, participant.
Meeting people who are somewhat going through the same transition. All the people who are here to help you and let you know that this transition doesn't have to be so hard is wonderful.
The goal is to provide consumers with a positive and hopeful experience that will change how they view their disability. Most individuals don't know resources that are available to them in situations where they just feel lost. And at the training center, we teach them how to deal with those situations.
If someone in your family that needs help, they need to reach out to this program because it's very beneficial to the sighted and
Thanks for this opportunity to share our story with you today. And I'd like to introduce Sigrid Adams, who is the Division Director for the Training and Policy Unit with the Michigan Rehabilitation Services, to talk about their programs.
Thank you, Lisa, for the introduction. We are pleased to be here today alongside our sister agency to round out the discussion about vocational rehabilitation services within the state of Michigan. Michigan Rehabilitation Services, or MRS for short, is the general program for the state of Michigan serving both businesses and eligible individuals to help them prepare for, obtain, and maintain employment. Michigan Rehabilitation Services serves individuals across the state in all 83 counties. All services are individualized to meet the needs of the specific customer, taking their capabilities, abilities, priorities, resources, unique strengths, and interests into account. Earlier, Jenny discussed the prevalence of disability in America and in Michigan. But did you know that disability is the one protected class that anyone can enter into at any time? It does not discriminate. And you don't necessarily have to be born with a disability. In fact, 43% of our current workforce will acquire a disability at some point in their career. That means that you or I could acquire a disability later in life. Do you enjoy Michigan winters? Perhaps you like to ski. Do you play a sport? Maybe you are a triathlete. 8.6 million sports injuries occur on average annually. Maybe you don't play sports at all. More than 57,000 motor vehicle accidents happen statewide on average per year. More than 140,000 people sustain injuries, and if those injuries result in permanent disability, but the individual is still interested in working, this is where MRS can help. Disability can and does impact everyone. We are here for you when you need us. MRS serves all individuals interested in working starting at age 14. Michigan students with disabilities who are age 14 to 26 enrolled in secondary or post-secondary education can participate in what we call pre-ed or pre-employment transition services. Pre-employment transition services are early intervention services that can help lead to competitive integrated employment. These services include job exploration, where students learn about different jobs, consider job interest and skills needed to be successful. Work-based learning experiences allow students to participate in activities to learn about the workplace. Participation in counseling on post-secondary education allows students to learn about options for continued education and training after high school. During workplace readiness training, students learn about and gain skills to be ready for employment. Throughout the process, self-advocacy training, including peer mentoring, is available as students gain skills to advocate for themselves and request accommodations necessary for success in employment. Starting services at a younger age allows students with disabilities the opportunity to prepare for employment and develop a plan while still connected to an intermediate school district, high school program, or a college, which can lead to a better informed and prepared workforce. MRS also works with young adults up to age 26 to help them address the unique challenges they face without the support of high school or higher education. Many of these services look just like services provided to our students. We help uncover talents and interests through a variety of techniques, including written and hands-on assessments. We relate this information to actual careers available in the labor market, often connecting individuals to businesses for informational interviews, internships, on-the-job experiences to help young adults make realistic decisions about their career options. We do this side by side with the customer while helping them to learn about their rights under the ADA, what accommodations they may need in employment, and how to advocate for themselves to prepare them for the workplace in the real world. All MRS services are provided to young adults to not only help secure viable employment that is consistent with their abilities, but more importantly, we provide support to help them maintain employment. For anyone that does not fall into the two previously mentioned groups, MRS offers individualized services. All services are provided regardless of age with the goal of assisting individuals with disabilities to prepare for and obtain competitive employment, including exploring the possibilities of self-employment or business ownership. Much like the services we have already discussed for the two prior age groups, similar customized services are provided to these individuals to help them meet their career goals. Vocational rehabilitation counselors provide vocational counseling and guidance aimed at career exploration, employment preparation, building soft skills, and navigating the hiring process to achieve an employment outcome. Staff work directly with customers to find the right employment fit, providing placement services, and once employed, retention services until at least 90 days of employment. This promotes long-term success. When a customer needs additional education and training to obtain employment, MRS can work with that individual and explore a variety of post-secondary training, such as MCTI, which was mentioned earlier, and as one of only 8 vocational rehabilitation training centers in the U.S. celebrating their 75th year, they are an excellent option for vocational training for an individual with a disability. If a customer is seeking a career path that requires education and training outside of the scope of MCTI, we work with that customer in the pursuit of other higher education or vocational training options. Sometimes customers come to MRS who are already employed and need assistance to maintain employment. MRS provides supportive services to promote job retention for all of our customers. We've discussed our individual customer, but we provide services to business customers as well. While we prepare our individual customers for employment, we also work with our business customers as they prepare their organizations to hire and retain employees with disabilities. Vocational rehabilitation works with the end in mind by being intentional and connecting with businesses for the benefit of both the individual customer and the business customer in a variety of ways. We partner with businesses to provide a job-ready talent pool through apprenticeships, internships, and recruitment efforts. We consult with business on matters related to the ADA, such as how to accommodate their workforce with disabilities, retention, and return to work strategies. In 2019, businesses in Michigan requested these top 5 services from MRS. MRS assisted 2,220 individuals with disabilities retain their employment, which includes reasonable accommodation consultation. Time and time again, the need for talent seems to be a big ask by business, and businesses come to us for the skilled talent pool we can deliver. We helped businesses in their recruitment of employees with disabilities and conducted over 125 disability awareness trainings to organizations as they work to change the perception of disability amongst their employees. Accessibility and environmental concerns are addressed through ADA architectural guideline evaluations, which often benefit not only individuals with disabilities, but the entire workforce. I've talked about MRS and what we do and how we operate, but what does business say about MRS? Our collaboration with MRS has exceeded expectations. Initially, we were looking to develop a partnership that would lead to greater recruitment and hires of persons with disabilities. What we've gained is a relationship that has resulted not only in increased hiring of persons with disabilities, but also increased retention, training support, and an overall strategy for a more inclusive work environment. Whatever the initiative, our partners at MRS continue to make themselves available, offering lasting solutions and support. We have partnered with MRS since 2014, and this is truly a partnership. We leverage MRS for candidate referrals who not only meet our basic qualifications, but who are pre-screened to be a cultural fit for us as well. MRS has consistently provided quality candidates who have turned into very successful, high-performing, well-compensated, long-term employees. Bravo. And now we're going to show you a video that demonstrates how MRS works in partnership with individual customers and business customers for success.
I would say I had a very favorable experience. Got to discover what Boise has to offer and what HP by extension has to offer. Done some pretty interesting work.
I would say my first thoughts were being amazed that a company like HP would really be like interested in me, and then also kind of like, I would say surprise and excitement and anxiety all at the same time were a big part of how I felt, because it was the kind of thing that it was a big experience unlike anything I've done before. But seriously, I would say it worked really well in the sense that they prepared us for the interview. They prepared us ahead of time for the interviews through a lot of workshops to improve our skills, as well as having mock interviews. And because of that, I feel like I was much better prepared for the interviews that I had later on.
I would say take it in a heartbeat. Because, well, a lot of reasons for that. First of all, and you're on the spectrum, chances are you have or have had in the past the need to prove something to yourself. I'll never underestimate the importance of that.
I would say the Spectrum Success Program it made it so I was looking forward to it a lot more. It made it so I kind of got a feel for what HP's workplace culture is like, and that was a lot of what assuaged a lot of my fears, because I've had experiences with workplaces before where I've kind of felt very stressed working there, and I didn't really fit there that well. But then when I was here for the Spectrum Success Program, I got to see what people working at HP was like, and I found that the workplace culture here is very, very compatible with me. So that relieved a lot of the issues that I was having before. And that was one of the major benefits of the Special Success Program for me.
We hope that you have enjoyed today's presentation and that it has been of value to you. If you or someone you know would like to explore the services we have discussed, please reach out to one of our respective agencies, the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons or Michigan Rehabilitation Services. As a reminder, all registered participants will receive information following this presentation via email. Thank you for joining us today.